We chose this Guatemala washed coffee because of the stability of a washed processed coffee. Comparing to natural processed and honey processed specialty coffee, washed processed coffee is famous for having a clean taste note, and cleanness is always our first priority in the design of coffee. To ensure cleanness, meanwhile finding the typical taste notes of a Guatemala washed coffee, we intended to roast the coffee into light roast, with final actual scores about 80 to 90, that ended just after the first crack. In the light roast coffee, we intended to reserve a bright acidity and trying to develop the floral taste while losing some body.
Roasting the beans used 0.12 kWh. We chose fresh roast because we can customize the roasting settings, optimizing the energy usage. And now for the process flow diagram. We put 112.6 grams of green beans into the roaster. After roasting the beans using the preferred settings, the beans are then removed from the roaster and cleaned for their chaff. We measured that the chaff weighed 0.4 grams, and we obtained 97 grams of roasted beans as the result, and that means 15.2 grams were lost due to evaporation. From the 97 grams of roasted bean that we obtained, we only plan to use 25 grams of them, and the rest, we put them inside the container. For our brewing process, we chose to use the drip coffee brewer. We then put our 25 grams of bean into the grinder, and then move them into the drip coffee brewer. We added 375 grams of hot water that was previously heated in the kettle. After waiting for 2.5 minutes, the brew was then dispensed into the carafe. We obtained 311.25 grams of brewed coffee and 84.75 of moist ground, and that means 4 grams were turned into water vapor. To recap, we put in 112.6 grams of green beans into the roaster, and for the output, we got 0.4 grams of chaff, 15.2 grams of water vapor, and 97 grams of usable coffee beans. And for the coffee brewing process, we used 25 grams of ground coffee and 375 grams of hot water. The output were 4 grams of lost water vapor, 84.75 grams of moist coffee ground, and we got 311.25 grams of drinkable brewed coffee. Boiling water is 0.12 kWh. One of the reasons we chose Clever Dripper is that we can easily scale up the production size because we can boil just a little bit more water than we need in a kettle, and we only have to boil it once. Unlike Mr. Coffee, for example, where if you decide that you need to brew more coffee, you need to repeat the whole process again, including boiling the water. And Coffee Grinder used the least amount of energy. We measured it only used 60 watts per second in average, and times that with 14 seconds, and you'll get 840 joules or 0.0006 kWh.
We will use TDS meter to test the TDS of our coffee.
We still have a lot of things to do, help our product to be a better coffee design. As of the light roast, we still feel like it's lost something of the body. So we will figure out in the future how to increase the roast while keeping that floral taste, but we will maximize the body's feeling. So now the bodies feel like Earl Grey tea, but we want the body to be more like a milk chocolate in the future. And we are working on it by frequently adjusting the roast level.